Good evening. It's Money Monday. Hey, Brother Chris. How you doing, sir? Good. For those of you catching the replay, it is Money Monday. We're back at it again at 7 p.m. Every Monday, we're here sharing financial tips and strategies to help you to save money and build wealth. So thank you all. Hello. Thank you all for tuning in. For those of you catching this on the replay, my name is Janae Murphy. I am a financial consultant and co-founder of Hand in Hand Investment Solutions, where we focus on teaching individuals how to be better managers of their money and prepare individuals financially for home ownership. Dubai's in the house. I'm going to make it over there one day. I'm going to make it over there one day. So everything that we teach is centered around the principle of good stewardship. And so Money Mondays, I do live broadcasts. I do live broadcasts every Monday at 7 p.m. again to share financial tips and strategies to help you save money and build wealth. So today's topic, good evening. And for those of you just joining us, if you feel comfortable, hey Richie, please share this with your followers if you feel comfortable, or if I say something that helps you, please share it so that way other people can get educated as well. So today's topic is protecting yourself, your family, and your things. So outside of being a financial consultant, I'm also a licensed insurance agent. And so I was attending a networking event last Wednesday, and I was getting together with other licensed agents, and they were just sharing stories with me about how even though they specialize in several other things, they also, excuse me, my allergies is just going crazy over here. They specialize in several different things, but they all kept talking about insurance, protection. So I was like, that would be a great topic to talk about, because it's not a popular topic, but it's also a necessary topic. And so that's what we'll be talking about today. So there's some common misconceptions that you hear when you hear the term life insurance. So we're going to break down some of those and just give you some education so you can make informed decisions with your portfolio. So some of the misconceptions that you hear is that, insurance is just for older people. Well, that's actually not the case. And the best time to get insurance is when you're young, like me, because number one, you're in the best of health, so your premiums will be lower. And because you're in good health, you'll most likely pass your test with flying colors. So I have a $250,000 policy on myself, and I only got it because I bought a house. So I have a policy on myself, and so I'm only paying like $29, okay. And I'm only paying like $11 a month, but it'll carry me through for 25 years. So God forbid, if anything were to happen to me, I made sure I got a policy with enough money to pay off my house, pay off all of my debts if my family is responsible for that, and to have some money left over for my mom to have, But I pretty much live on my own, so I really don't need any additional protection yes, I am in the U.S., so I don't need any additional protection for anybody else other than myself. Well, I'm sure they have agents down there in the Caribbean, especially with the advancement of technology. Like, everything's available to people nowadays. I just read in the paper today that a company in China is buying Genworth here in Henrico, Virginia, and that's an insurance company. So it's worldwide. Hey, France. So going back to, the protection that I have, you want to think about what it is you need protection for. So I titled this For Yourself, Your Family, and Your Things. So in my case, I'm single, no kids, and I'm one of four. I have 3 brothers. And so when I got insurance, I was just really thinking about myself, and then my mom and my dad. So that's why I priced my policy the way that I did. So if you're somebody who has a family that's dependent on you, you need to think about that. Especially people who have kids, because nowadays you don't have to be, you're not necessarily 20 something, 30 something, 40 something. I choose to be. You don't have to be 20 something, 30 something, to get life insurance anymore. I mean, unfortunately, we have teenagers having kids nowadays. So if you're somebody who has kids or have dependents, people that are dependent on you, if you were to leave this earth tomorrow and they're depending on the money that you bring home to live, then you're definitely a candidate for insurance. And you want to think about, if I were to go tomorrow, how much would my family need in order to survive, until they're able to make it on their own. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So misconceptions: you don't have to be old to get insurance. Being young is actually a good thing. It works in your favor. And so being young, being a millennial, is the best time to get insurance. But if you have a family, if you have people who could be financially responsible for you after you leave this earth, then you're definitely a candidate for insurance. I'll share with you a story. Both of my grandmothers, they passed away in 2015. I'm not sure your question, Richie. They both passed away in 2015. One passed in January, one passed in December. So yeah, that was a crazy year. So they were up in age, so it happens. And one had life insurance, one didn't. And one's insurance, it just wasn't enough. So we had to send a text message out and have family members contribute. And then the remainder of the cost, yes, the proceeds from the insurance goes towards burial, any services, funeral services, headstones, things like that. And you can also use that money for whatever. So, depending on how much you get. So, and the typical funeral costs $7,000 to $10,000. So if you have just enough to put you away, then if you're somebody who's older, like my grandmothers, we didn't really depend on them for income because, they were both in a nursing home. But if they were, 30 something, 40 something, if they were taking care of, my niece and nephew, or helping to take care of my youngest brother, then that would have put a damper on things, because that means somebody else got to go to work to pick up that slack. So yeah, they both passed in 2015. One had insurance, one didn't. We solicited the family, and thankfully people were able to contribute to help defer the cost. But we had a sizable final bill that we had to split between me, my brothers, and my mom. And fortunately we had the money, but if we didn't, that means that you have to skimp back on some of the arrangements for your family member. And when you're going through something like that, that's the last thing that you want to think about. So it's very important to be proactive with getting coverage and protection. So that way, in the event that anything were to happen, you know that you'll be okay, your family will be okay. and anything else that you're financially responsible for, you'll be able to continue to manage that. And so my grandmother, who passed in December, her policy had actually lapsed. So my dad was expecting to get, one payout, and it was actually something else. And it was a kind of a messy situation. I mean, it ended up working out. It was pretty decent, but she ended up being cremated, which is actually a lot cheaper than going through with a full-on funeral. We did have a service, but a lot of that, my dad had to pay out of pocket, and so he actually had to borrow money to pay for everything, which was not convenient, I'll just be honest. And then, the follow-up paperwork from Social Security after that, he's still getting stuff in the mail, and that was 2015. So, saying all that to say, originally, back in the 90s, he had, more than enough insurance for both him, because at the time he was the only one working and providing for my entire family, just because, he was able to afford to do that for us. So my dad had, a awesome insurance policy. And my grandmother at the time, she had insurance, but they didn't keep up with it. And so they ended up losing that coverage. And so had they had kept it up, my grandmother, all her arrangements would have been taken care of, and there would have been some left over to distribute among the grandkids. And then for my dad, he didn't keep up with his either. So now, I'm trying to help him through getting a policy, because, he is paying child support for my youngest brother. And so my mom, she depends on that money to be able to defer some of the costs of raising my youngest brother. Because my other brothers, we're all over 18, so we're good. So, yeah, it's very important to just be proactive about that, because it's better to be safe than sorry, especially, like I said, I'm only paying $11 a month. You can pretty much find a policy to fit any budget, but you at least want to get something that'll cover your basic expenses. But again, if you're somebody who people depend on you, then you definitely want to think about over their lifetime, how much money would they need in order to be able to provide in the same way, even if they were to leave this earth. And so those are just some things to think about. Hopefully you have coverage for yourself. If you're somebody who's single, don't own a home, and you're just kind of living with your family, then you're not really somebody who needs it. But if you have a family, I don't have a family, but because I bought a house, that's why I have insurance. I can answer that right now. The topics vary from week to week, and so I just felt led to talk about it today. So with whole life, that's a permanent policy. Term life is a temporary policy. Home life, that also has the potential to build cash value. And so whole life is exactly that. It's a policy that carries you throughout your entire life. So in the event that something happens to you, it usually matures, at age 100 or, but not only do you have the face value that your family would get, but there's also built up cash value potentially that they can receive as well. And if you have a whole life policy, you can pull some of that cash value out even before the policy matures. And that's helpful if you have, some last minute items that need to get paid and you're not sure where to get the money from. You can essentially borrow from your own money. And then they have it set up where you can, slowly pay that back. So that way that cash value is still there. But essentially it's your money. With term is a temporary policy, and so it lasts for X amount of years. It usually has the lowest premium because it is a temporary policy. So like with mine, I'm paying $11 a month. It's good for 25 years. So when I am, let's see, 32, 42, when I'm 52 years old, if, I'm still alive, my policy expires, everything that I've paid into it pretty much goes away. And I would have to get a brand new policy and start all over again, take my exam and get my new rate. With whole life, it just keeps on going and going and going and going until it matures. And so that's the primary difference between the two policies. I recommend term because it's cheaper. And another thing too, life insurance is designed for people who don't have a lot of cash. So if you're somebody who's wealthy and well off, you don't really need life insurance because you can afford to continue to go on because you have succession plans in place, you have estate planning and all that. So it's really designed for people who don't have $7,000 to $10,000 to shell out or don't have some type of nest egg set up for their loved ones. So I hope that answers your question, Brother Chris. That's awesome. So yeah, for those of you, okay, good. So again, I am a licensed agent. So if you have any specific questions, my website is linked in my profile. You can just go there and my contact information is out there. Bankrate.com has a great calculator to figure out how much coverage you need if you don't have any. And if you need me to point you in the right direction, again, just reach out to me. So thank you all for tuning in. That's actually all I have for you today. And again, I'll be here next Monday at 7 p.m. To broadcast live. And with that said, if there are no other questions, I wish you all a great evening. Again, thank you for tuning in. And if you are catching the replay, appreciate you, Brother Chris, I really do. If you are catching the replay, if you found this information helpful, please share it. Because again, this world is headed in a very uncertain direction. Okay, I'll take it off auto delete. I mean, this world is headed in a crazy direction. And I mean, death knows no age. It used to be where, you get to live a full life and then, you go on to glory, hopefully. But nowadays it's like, exactly. And nowadays it's like, life is not promised and every day is a gift. So I definitely encourage you to think about your families, think about the impact that you have if you were to leave this earth. Everyone is valuable, everyone matters. And so I really want, what I really want to sink in after this scope is the fact that we each have a part that we play, whether we're a sister, a mom, a father, an uncle, a grandfather, a nephew, a niece, a brother. We all have a part that we play, and for a lot of us, people are depending on us to come home each and every day. And nowadays you can never be too sure, so you just want to be careful. Yes. Yeah, just prepare for it, and then, hopefully plan for the worst and hope for the best. This is not a political Periscope, so I'm not going to address that. Plan for the worst, but hope for the best. And so I just want to charge you all with the responsibility of making sure that not only you are good, but your family and your assets. So with that, you all have a great evening. I appreciate you all tuning in, and I look forward to talking with you next week.